lunch?
Oh, get out of here!
Don't you realize that I can make you the biggest star on Broadway?
From Darryl F Zanak to Harvey Weinstein, Hollywood has a long history of abusing power. Though the industry has made strides in exposing these predators, the scars remain. Here are the 19 old Hollywood actors who proved to be predators. Darryl F Zanak. Legendary producer. Darryl F Zanak is remembered for his cinematic achievements, but his legacy is irreparably stained by his predatory behavior behind the scenes. Zanuck wasn't merely a powerhouse of creativity, he was also notorious for his systematic exploitation of young actresses, treating them as disposable objects in his daily routine. According to Maris Harris in The Zanucks of Hollywood, The Dark Legacy of an American Dynasty, Zanuck orchestrated a ritual of casting couch meetings that took place like clockwork in his green-paneled office. Every day at precisely 4 p.m., the Fox Century City studio would shut down, effectively putting the business of filmmaking on hold. Employees knew exactly why this occurred, but no one dared challenge or disrupt it. Through a secret subterranean passage, Zanuck would escort a young woman, usually an aspiring actress desperate for her big break, into his private office. There, away from prying eyes but under the weight of unspoken complicity, these actresses were coerced into compromising situations. Zanuck viewed these encounters as nothing more than pleasurable breaks, treating them with the same casual indifference as a game of polo or a leisurely lunch. What's even more disturbing is how normalized his actions were in the industry. Everyone at the studio was aware of his routine, yet his behavior was protected by a culture of silence and complicity. The women, often powerless in the face of such overwhelming influence, were trapped by the hope that enduring Zanuck's advances might lead to a role or career opportunity. Despite his actions, Zanuck was celebrated as a visionary, even winning the prestigious Thalberg Award in 1937. The irony of his success is compounded by the fact that during this same decade, the term casting couch entered Hollywood's lexicon, a grim acknowledgement of the abuse that had become endemic in the industry. Louis B. Mayer. When you think of Hollywood's golden age, one name that inevitably comes up is Louis B. Mayer, the co-founder of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, or MGM. Known for creating some of the most iconic films and launching countless stars, Mayer's legacy in the film industry is undeniably massive. But behind the glitz and glamour, there's a darker side to his story that's worth exploring. So, was Louis B. Mayer a predator? Let's dive into the details. First off, Louis B. Mayer wielded enormous power at MGM. He was the guy calling all the shots, not just on what movies got made, but also on the personal lives of the actresses working under him. Imagine having someone control not just your career, but also your public image, and even your personal choices. That kind of control can create a really toxic environment, and that's exactly what many of the women at MGM experienced. Take Judy Garland, for example. She was one of MGM's brightest stars, but working under Mayer was anything but easy. While Judy never directly accused Mayer of sexual misconduct, she often talked about the oppressive atmosphere at MGM. The constant pressure and lack of personal freedom contributed to her struggles with substance abuse and mental health. It wasn't just about the films. It was about how Mayer managed his stars' lives in a way that left them feeling trapped and exploited. Then there's Shirley Temple, everyone's favorite child star. Shirley didn't specifically accuse Mayer of inappropriate behavior, but she did share some uncomfortable experiences from her time at MGM. Young Shirley faced situations where studio executives behaved inappropriately, creating an environment where young actresses felt vulnerable and powerless. These stories paint a picture of a workplace where personal boundaries were frequently ignored, thanks in large part to Mayer's leadership. But it wasn't just Judy and Shirley. Many actresses have spoken about how MGM, under Mayer's rule, pushed for a certain image that often led to intrusive and manipulative practices. It wasn't always overtly sexual, but the constant control and pressure created an atmosphere where exploitation could easily take root. Imagine being in a place where every move you make is monitored and controlled, making it incredibly difficult to stand up against unfair treatment. Walt Disney. Walt Disney, the iconic creator behind beloved characters and stories, has been posthumously scrutinized for allegations of inappropriate behavior towards female employees. Several former employees have come forward with claims that Disney exhibited domineering and sometimes coercive behavior in the workplace. One notable account comes from animator Retta Scott, who worked closely with Disney in the early days of the studio. While Scott never accused Disney of overt misconduct, she described an environment where female employees often felt pressured to conform to Disney's demanding standards, sometimes at the expense of their personal comfort and boundaries. Additionally, some biographies and documentaries have hinted at Disney's possessive nature regarding his work and the women who worked with him, suggesting that his intense focus could sometimes blur professional boundaries. However, concrete evidence or specific instances of misconduct remain limited, and many of these claims are based on personal recollections and interpretations of Disney's complex personality. Buddy Adler. Joan Collins had her own intense brush with the infamous casting couch when she auditioned for the iconic title role in Cleopatra. At the time, Collins was already making waves in Hollywood and was considered the frontrunner for the part. However, what should have been a breakthrough moment in her career turned into a heartbreaking ordeal that exposed the dark side of the film industry. Collins lost the role to the dazzling Elizabeth Taylor, and the reason wasn't just about who could deliver the lines better or who had the bigger star power. It was much more personal and disturbing. The real reason Joan Collins didn't get the role? She refused to be nice to Buddy Adler, the head honcho at 20th Century Fox. Now, be nice was nothing more than a thinly veiled euphemism for something far more sinister. Buddy Adler, a powerful studio executive, was known for his manipulative tactics to secure roles and advance his projects. In this case, his expectations were clear. To secure the coveted role, Joan Collins was expected to comply with his inappropriate demands. But Collins, standing firm in her integrity and self-respect, drew a hard line. "I burst into tears and ran out of his office," she recalled in her memoir, showcasing her refusal to be compromised for a role she deserved. Adler's behavior epitomized the predatory culture that was rampant in the industry, where ambition and opportunity often came at the cost of personal dignity and safety. Joan Collins' experience wasn't just a personal setback. It was a stark example of the systemic abuse that countless women faced behind the scenes. Collins' courage to stand up against Adler's inappropriate demands is a testament to her strength and resilience. By refusing to succumb to the pressure, she not only preserved her own integrity, but also highlighted the need for change within Hollywood's toxic environment. Her story serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of speaking out against abuse and advocating for a safer, more respectful industry for all aspiring talents. Roman Polanski. Roman Polanski, celebrated for his cinematic masterpieces like Rosemary's Baby and Chinatown, is one of the most divisive figures in Hollywood history. Despite his undeniable talent as a filmmaker, his legacy has been overshadowed by the horrifying revelations of his predatory behavior, which have left a lasting stain on his career and reputation. The most infamous incident occurred in 1977, when Polanski, then 43 years old, was accused of drugging and sexually assaulting a 13-year-old aspiring actress, Samantha Gailey, later Guymer, at actor Jack Nicholson's home. Polanski had promised Guymer a glamorous photo shoot, but the encounter quickly turned into a nightmare. After giving her champagne and a sedative, Polanski proceeded to assault her, ignoring her repeated refusals. The case shocked the world, exposing the dark side of an industry that often turned a blind eye to the behavior of its most powerful figures. Polanski was arrested and initially pled guilty to unlawful sexual intercourse with a minor as part of a plea deal. However, before sentencing could occur, he fled the United States, fearing a harsher punishment than originally agreed upon. He has lived in exile ever since, primarily in France, where he continues to avoid extradition. Despite an international arrest warrant and the global outrage his actions have sparked, Polanski has maintained his freedom, protected by certain countries' legal systems and his status as a celebrated artist. What makes Polanski's case even more controversial is the ongoing support he has received from segments of the film industry. Over the years, he has continued to work, winning prestigious awards, including an Academy Award for The Pianist in 2003, sparking protests and heated debates about separating art from the artist. While some defend his work, others argue that honoring him perpetuates a culture of impunity for powerful individuals. For Samantha Geimer, the scars of that day have lingered for decades. Despite her attempts to move on, she has publicly forgiven Polanski and criticized the media's exploitation of her story. Yet her ordeal remains a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities young talents face in the entertainment industry. Polanski's actions and the subsequent fallout have become a symbol of Hollywood's long-standing issues with power, privilege, and accountability. Victor McLaglen. Victor McLaglen, an Academy Award-winning actor known for his roles in films like The Informer and The Quiet Man, has been the subject of allegations regarding aggressive sexual misconduct. Multiple women who worked with McLaglen have come forward with stories describing his domineering and sometimes aggressive behavior both on and off set. These accounts suggest that McLaglen used his charm and authority to manipulate and intimidate female colleagues, creating an uncomfortable and hostile work environment. While these allegations have been discussed in various biographies and interviews with former co-stars, concrete evidence or legal actions against McLaglen are limited. Nonetheless, these personal accounts contribute to a more nuanced and critical understanding of his character beyond his on-screen persona. Michael Winner. Even Oscar-winning legends weren't spared from Hollywood's toxic practices. Dame Helen Mirren, a name synonymous with grace and talent, has been vocal about her own harrowing experiences in the industry. In 1964, at the tender age of 19, Mirren faced a humiliating and degrading audition with director Michael Winner, a figure who would later gain notoriety for his controversial methods. During the audition, Mirren was instructed by Winner to flaunt her body, a directive that left her feeling exposed and objectified. "I was mortified," Mirren recounted, describing the experience as both insulting and degrading. This wasn't just an isolated incident. It was emblematic of the power dynamics that allowed directors like Winner to abuse their authority over young, aspiring actresses. Michael Winner, known for his later work in films such as Death Wish, had a reputation for being a demanding and often overbearing director. His actions during Mirren's audition were not just a reflection of his personal misconduct, but also a symptom of an industry that routinely prioritized male egos and desires over the well-being and consent of female talent. Winner later attempted to downplay the severity of the incident, claiming he was merely following orders from a casting agent. Mirren's experience with Winner is part of a broader pattern of predatory behavior in Hollywood, where young actresses were often pressured into compromising positions in the pursuit of their careers. These encounters not only affected their professional trajectories, but also had lasting impacts on their personal lives and self-esteem. Mirren's courage in speaking out highlights the urgent need for accountability and systemic change within the entertainment industry. Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby's fall from grace is one of Hollywood's most shocking stories. Once loved as America's dad on The Cosby Show, Cosby was a beloved comedian and actor for over 5 decades. But behind the smiles and laughter, a dark truth was hiding. Since the 1960s, women began to come forward with serious accusations against Cosby. They said he drugged and assaulted them, using his fame and charm to gain their trust. For years, these stories were kept quiet, buried under his successful career and strong public image. Many women stayed silent because they feared losing their jobs, facing backlash, or not being believed. The situation changed in 2014 when comedian Hannibal Buress publicly accused Cosby of assaulting him. This brave move encouraged many other women to share their own experiences. Suddenly, a wave of testimonies revealed a consistent pattern of abuse by Cosby. These women described how Cosby would drug their drinks, making them vulnerable and unable to resist his advances. The media spotlight intensified, and the stories could no longer be ignored. In 2018, Cosby was convicted of sexual assault, marking a significant moment in the fight against sexual misconduct in Hollywood. This case showed how powerful people could hide their crimes for years, but also how important it is to speak out and seek justice. Bill Cosby's story is a harsh reminder of the deep problems in Hollywood. It highlights the need for change to protect everyone from abuse and ensure that no one is above the law. The fight for justice continues, inspired by the courage of those who came forward. Kirk Douglas. Lana Wood, the younger sister of Natalie Wood, made some shocking claims in her new book, Little Sister. She says that back in 1955, Kirk Douglas, the legendary actor, sexually assaulted her sister when Natalie was just 17. This reportedly happened after Natalie's mother, Maria, arranged a meeting with Douglas at the famous Chateau Marmont in Los Angeles. Why? Maria believed it could help Natalie's career. Lana, who was only 8 at the time, recalls her sister returning to the car looking visibly upset and disheveled. Natalie never explained what happened then, but years later, she allegedly confided in Lana, saying, "He hurt me. I was terrified." Despite this, both Natalie and her mother decided not to speak up, fearing it would ruin Natalie's career. Now, Michael Douglas, Kirk's son, has kept his response brief, saying, "May they both rest in peace." It's worth mentioning that rumors about this incident have swirled for years. In fact, when Kirk Douglas passed away in 2020, Natalie Wood's name started trending on Twitter. It seems the public never forgot those whispers. As for Natalie, she's remembered for iconic roles in Rebel Without a Cause and West Side Story. But her life ended tragically in 1981 during a mysterious boating accident. Her husband, Robert Wagner, has always denied involvement, but Lana Wood still believes he played a role in Natalie's death. Alfred Hitchcock. You know Alfred Hitchcock, right? The guy behind classics like Psycho and Rear Window. A real legend in the world of cinema. But here's something you might not know about him. Behind all that suspense and iconic directing, Hitchcock had a pretty shady side, especially when it came to how he treated the actresses who worked with him. Take Tippi Hedren, for example. She starred in his movies The Birds and Marnie, and she's been pretty open about her experiences on set. Tippi talked about how Hitchcock wasn't just directing her, he was controlling her life. Imagine being on a movie set and feeling like the director is isolating you from everyone else, making you feel trapped. That's exactly what Tippi described. Hitchcock's behavior wasn't just creepy, it was downright manipulative. He'd keep her away from the rest of the cast and crew, trying to assert this unhealthy level of control over her both professionally and personally. And it wasn't just Tippi. Other actresses have come forward with similar stories, painting a picture of a director who used his power to exploit those around him. We're talking about emotional manipulation, creating an atmosphere where you're scared to speak up, and leveraging his Hollywood status to keep things quiet. It's like he built this fortress of authority that made it nearly impossible for anyone to stand up against him. What's crazy is that despite all these serious allegations, Hitchcock's reputation as a filmmaking genius hasn't really taken a hit in the public eye. People still celebrate his movies without really digging into what went on behind the scenes. But with movements like the Me Too movement bringing these stories to light, there's been a push to re-examine his legacy. It's a reminder that sometimes the glamour and fame can hide some pretty dark realities. Charlie Chaplin. You've probably heard of Charlie Chaplin, the silent film legend known for his lovable character, the Tramp. His movies brought joy to millions, and he's still celebrated as one of cinema's greatest figures. But behind that charming mustache and bowler hat, Chaplin had a much more complicated and darker side, especially when it came to his relationships with young women. Take the case of Joan Barry, for example. In the late 1940s, Joan came forward accusing Chaplin of fathering her child out of wedlock. At that time, having a child out of wedlock was a serious scandal, especially for someone as prominent as Chaplin. The situation escalated into a highly publicized paternity lawsuit. Chaplin vehemently denied the allegations, and the case dragged on for years, casting a long shadow over his personal life. Even though the court eventually ruled in his favor, the damage to his reputation was already done. Many saw him as a charming rogue who couldn't keep his personal affairs in check. But Joan Barry wasn't the only one. There were whispers and rumors about Chaplin's relationships with much younger women throughout his career. Critics and some biographers have pointed out that his charm often bordered on manipulation, especially with actresses who were eager to make their mark in Hollywood. These relationships weren't just casual flings. They often involved significant power imbalances, with Chaplin using his status and influence to maintain control. Another controversial figure was actress Una O'Neill, whom Chaplin married when she was just 18 years old, and he was 54. While their marriage lasted over 2 decades and produced 8 children, some have questioned the dynamics of their relationship, given the age difference and Chaplin's towering presence in her life. Was it a genuine love story? Or was there an element of dominance that overshadowed their partnership? Despite these troubling aspects, Chaplin's legacy in film remains largely untarnished in the public eye. People still flock to his movies and celebrate his contributions to the art of storytelling. However, these personal controversies remind us that even our most beloved icons can have deeply flawed and problematic sides. As we continue to reevaluate historical figures through a modern lens, Chaplin's story serves as a reminder that talent and charm don't excuse unethical behavior. Woody Allen. You've probably heard of Woody Allen, a renowned filmmaker known for classics like Annie Hall and Manhattan. His work has earned him numerous accolades, including multiple Academy Awards. But behind the scenes, Woody Allen has been at the center of serious allegations that have sparked intense debate and controversy in Hollywood and beyond. In the early 1990s, Woody Allen faced allegations of sexual abuse from his adopted daughter, Dylan Farrow. Dylan claimed that when she was 7 years old, Allen sexually abused her. These accusations emerged during a highly publicized custody battle between Allen and his former partner, Mia Farrow. Mia has consistently supported Dylan's claims, stating that the allegations are true and that Allen's behavior was inappropriate and harmful. Allen has always denied these allegations, asserting that their relationship was entirely appropriate and that Dylan's claims are unfounded. Over the years, this controversy has resurfaced multiple times, especially in light of the Me Too movement, which has brought renewed attention to issues of sexual misconduct in the entertainment industry. The allegations against Woody Allen have had significant repercussions for his career and legacy. While he continued to make films after the initial accusations, the shadow of these allegations lingered. Some actors and industry professionals have distanced themselves from Allen, and there has been ongoing debate about separating the artist from the art. In recent years, especially with the rise of the Me Too movement, there has been increased scrutiny of Allen's past behavior. Documentaries, interviews, and articles have delved deeper into the accusations, reigniting discussions about his personal conduct and its impact on his work and the people around him. Although Woody Allen has not been criminally charged in relation to these allegations, the accusations have been a subject of legal and media attention for decades. Various investigations have been conducted, but no charges have been filed against him. The complexity of the case, combined with the passage of time, has made it a challenging and sensitive issue to address conclusively. Roscoe "Fatty" Conklin. Roscoe "Fatty" Conklin was a silent film actor and comedian who enjoyed a successful career in the early 20th century. However, his personal life has been tainted by multiple allegations of sexual assault. Several former actresses and female colleagues have accused Conklin of inappropriate advances and coercive behavior. These allegations paint a picture of a man who abused his position of power to exploit younger and less established women in the industry. Despite the serious nature of these claims, there is limited documentation or legal proceedings to substantiate the allegations. Much of what is known comes from personal testimonies and retrospective accounts, which highlight the challenges women faced in speaking out against powerful figures in Hollywood during that era. Gary Cooper. Gary Cooper, a legendary actor known for his roles in classics like High Noon and Sergeant York, has also been implicated in allegations of sexual coercion. Various women who worked with Cooper have shared stories suggesting that he used his fame and influence to pressure them into uncomfortable situations. These accounts describe instances where Cooper allegedly leveraged his status to gain compliance, creating an environment where women felt they had little choice but to acquiesce to his demands. While Cooper maintained a public image of the quintessential American hero, these personal accounts reveal a more troubling side, highlighting the often unseen power dynamics that existed behind the scenes in Hollywood. Spencer Tracy. Spencer Tracy, another towering figure in classic Hollywood, has been associated with a documented history of sexual harassment. Despite his immense talent and success, Tracy's personal conduct has come under scrutiny. Multiple women who interacted with Tracy have recounted experiences of unwanted advances and inappropriate behavior. These accounts suggest that Tracy, much like some of his contemporaries, may have exploited his position to exert control over female colleagues and actresses. Biographies and memoirs from those who knew Tracy personally detail instances where his behavior created an intimidating and uncomfortable atmosphere. These stories contribute to a more comprehensive understanding of Tracy's legacy, balancing his professional achievements with his personal shortcomings. Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson is undeniably one of Hollywood's most celebrated actors, known for his versatile performances in classics like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, The Shining, and As Good as It Gets. However, alongside his professional acclaim, Nicholson's personal life has been the subject of scrutiny and controversy, particularly concerning allegations of aggressive sexual behavior. One of the most notable allegations comes from actress Anjelica Huston. In her memoir, A Story Lately Told, Huston recounts an incident from the 1970s when she was a rising star in Hollywood. She describes an encounter with Nicholson that she characterizes as sexually aggressive and coercive. According to Huston, Nicholson made unwanted advances that left her feeling uncomfortable and powerless. This account adds to a pattern of behavior reported by other actresses who have worked with Nicholson over the years. Beyond Huston's account, there have been various rumors and unverified reports suggesting that Nicholson's behavior towards women, on and off set, has been problematic. Some co-stars and industry insiders have hinted at a culture of intimidation and inappropriate conduct, although specific incidents are often not publicly documented or confirmed. These whispers contribute to a broader narrative about the challenges women have faced in the entertainment industry, especially when dealing with powerful and influential figures like Nicholson. Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando, an iconic figure in Hollywood, is celebrated for his groundbreaking performances in films such as A Streetcar Named Desire, On the Waterfront, and The Godfather. Despite his professional success, Brando's personal life has been marred by reports of sexual coercion and inappropriate behavior, painting a more troubling picture of the revered actor. Several women who were close to Brando have come forward with allegations describing his behavior as manipulative and coercive. One prominent figure is Maria Schneider, who starred alongside Brando in Last Tango in Paris. Schneider has spoken about the intense and emotionally taxing environment on set, where Brando's methods pushed her to uncomfortable emotional and physical extremes. While not explicitly labeled as sexual coercion, the dynamics described suggest a misuse of power and influence. Biographers and film historians have also delved into Brando's personal interactions, highlighting instances where his dominance and need for control may have crossed ethical boundaries. These accounts often cite his relationships with actresses and partners, noting patterns of behavior that align with coercive tactics. However, many of these reports remain anecdotal, lacking official confirmation or legal documentation. Unlike some of his contemporaries, Brando's reputation has been somewhat insulated from these allegations, perhaps due to the era in which he rose to fame and the cultural context surrounding his personal life. Nonetheless, the reports contribute to a more nuanced understanding of his character, challenging the solely heroic image often portrayed in media and public discourse. Harvey Weinstein. Once a powerhouse producer behind hits like Pulp Fiction and Shakespeare in Love, Harvey Weinstein was found predator. Beyond his success, Weinstein became the face of the Me Too movement when countless women came forward with stories of harassment and assault spanning decades. His behavior showed just how deep exploitation runs in Hollywood's culture. Weinstein co-founded Miramax Films and later the Weinstein Company, using his charm and influence to control careers and lives. Women like Ashley Judd and Rose McGowan shared personal stories of how Weinstein pushed boundaries, making unwanted advances and using his power to intimidate. Rose McGowan's brave accounts, in particular, inspired many others to speak out, breaking the long-held silence. The turning point came when Alyssa Milano's viral Me Too tweet encouraged millions to share their experiences. Suddenly, Weinstein was under intense scrutiny. In 2018, he was arrested and charged with rape and sexual assault. By 2020, he was convicted and sentenced to 23 years in prison. Weinstein's downfall not only ended his reign, but also ignited a global conversation about power, consent, and the urgent need for change in the entertainment industry. His story is a powerful reminder that no one is above accountability. Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe, one of the most celebrated actresses in history, was not a predator, but a victim who dared to expose the ugly truths of Hollywood. Behind her dazzling smile and iconic status lay a woman who endured the dark, predatory nature of the industry. In her candid memoir, Monroe did not mince words, describing Hollywood as an overcrowded brothel, a merry-go-round with beds for horses. She revealed that she survived in an environment rife with liars and schemers, where exploitation was the price of admission for many young hopefuls. Monroe was subjected to relentless predatory behavior throughout her career. At MGM, her handlers treated her as little more than a commodity, controlling every aspect of her life, from her work schedule to her personal choices. Studio executives like Louis B. Mayer and Darryl F Zanak loomed over her early career, wielding their power to extract compliance from actresses desperate for success. Monroe was well aware of the casting coach culture and bore witness to how women were systematically exploited by men in power. One particularly harrowing incident Monroe recalled involved Harry Cohn, the notorious head of Columbia Pictures. Cohn, infamous for leveraging his position to force actresses into compromising situations, propositioned Monroe under the guise of offering her a career-making opportunity. Refusing to bow to his demands, she walked away, sacrificing potential stardom at the studio.